Welcome to the Awakened Goddess Show, your source for inspiration, wisdom, and personal discovery. The place to learn from a diverse mix of mentors, metaphysical experts, spiritual leaders, and best-selling authors from around the world. I'm Angela Wilkinson, intuitive coach and founder of the Awakened Goddess Academy. Join me as I explore the minds of my masterful guests while they share powerful insights and easy-to-use tools you can start using right away. Now, let's tap into the energy of the Awakened Goddess and be enlightened by today's guest. Beth Larsen is a certified high-performance coach, manifesting coach, emotion code practitioner, and the founder of the Unlock Your Natural Abundance coaching program. After the devastating loss of her mentor, Beth walked away from her 23-year career in retail management. Following her instincts, she dove headfirst into the world of metaphysics, quantum physics, neuroscience, and personal growth. Beth teaches a unique combination of business strategy, personal growth, and manifesting. She teaches women entrepreneurs how to attract more business, experience more bliss, and have more balance. She's made it her mission to help other women recognize and harness their own power so they can live a big, full life. Now let's welcome Beth to the show. Welcome to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show, where we co-create powerful conscious conversations on the leading edge. Today I have Beth joining us to talk about the emotion code, what it means to be living in a high-performance state, and her manifesting method, natural abundance. Welcome, Beth.
Hi, how are you?
I'm awesome. Oh, goodness. I had the pleasure of working with you a couple weeks ago, and it was my first time trying the emotion code. And ooh, it was super fun. And wow, very powerful. So I'm really excited to share this with people, for those that have heard of it before and for those that haven't. And we're actually, just a heads up, people, grab yourself a magnet because Beth is going to be walking us through the emotion code later. So you just need like a kitchen magnet or any old magnet that you can find. So we're going to do that a little bit later in the show, but go ahead and grab that now. So, all right, tell me, what happened? What was a catalyst in your life to get you on this path? Because right now, I know that you are doing a lot of really high-level stuff. You're doing the emotion code, you're doing high-performance coaching for people, and I know that there's a juicy journey there, so let's hear it.
There is, yes. Well, I would say that for most of my life, I would not have called myself an awakened goddess by any means. I was actually very much asleep, kind of going through life, just going through life, not engaged. I spent 20 plus years working in a traditional job. I was in the retail industry, and I was very successful. I was everything from a store manager up to a VP of sales during that time. But I was all about work, and I was all about the career, and literally the rest of my life was missing in pursuit of that. So I really had the start of my awakening in 2008. It was such a pivotal year for so many people,
Right.
but it was definitely the start of it. And I won't say it was the actual awakening, but it was the beginning of it. In 2008, I had a devastating thing happen. Actually, my mentor, my boss at the time, passed away. And she was only, I think, 43, 44 years old at the time, passed away of a pulmonary embolism. And it really kind of rocked our company at the time. And after the dust settled a little bit, promotions happened, and I got promoted and moved. And it was something I never could feel good about. Who wants to get promoted in those kinds of circumstances?
Right.
And, I'd like to say that was a big wake-up call for me at that time, but it wasn't. Instead, I just stuck my head in the ground and worked even harder and just kept going. And eventually, about 4 years later, I started to experience some health issues. And that would be when I would say I had the awakening of realizing that I was 43, 44, coming up on that age, And if I wasn't, if I didn't do something different, I was going to be headed in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I did not want my life to end up the same way. I knew I was meant for more. I had no idea what, but I just knew that it wasn't right. And so I walked away from that. And interestingly enough, I actually got recruited right away. And, as soon as some recruiters had found out I'd left my old company, and I took a job on a Friday because I was back in that same mode.
Yeah.
I was back in the familiar. And I took a job on a Friday, and the whole weekend I felt sick to my stomach. Like I wasn't excited about this. I felt absolutely sick. And on Monday, I called them back and said, I can't do this. And it was that moment of, I have no idea what I'm going to be doing next, but this is not it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a plan, but I do have faith that this is going to work out.
And
So
and I just want to pause there for a second because I think that that is a huge turning point, and I think we tend to get stuck in that everyday, the same old, because we don't see what's on the other side of a change. And so I love that I wanted to highlight this because I think that for your life to really up level in
yeah,
some way, whether a relationship or career or finances or whatever, you have to be willing to not know where the end is, and use that inner guidance and that knowing that, okay, this doesn't feel right, so this is
yeah,
not the right way to go. This feels scary, but feels like, ooh, I feel like there's something on the other side, and I'm getting like chills all the way up and down my body as I'm talking about it. But it's like,
yeah.
okay, that's the direction I need to go, even though you can't see the end.
Yeah, yeah. And I'd always lived my life believing that everything happens for a reason, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was such a positive way to live my life. And I thought, it's what helped me deal with stress throughout years. I may not know what the reason is, but this is happening for a reason. And it wasn't until I took that step away that I realized everything was happening for a reason, and that I actually was the reason. That I was creating all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't consciously creating at the time, but I was manifesting everything going on in my life step by step. But I wasn't owning the fact that I had actually created the good, the bad, and the ugly, along the
Right.
way. And when I took that time away and I started to have my awakening and started to really, I dove headfirst in every kind of personal development you can think of. And, I embraced, of course, The Secret,
Yeah.
which I remember telling my boss about The Secret, not the one that had passed away, but a different boss, and telling her about it. And I remember her kind of poo-pooing the whole thing. And I thought,
Right.
why is it so bad to live life just thinking positive? Why is that
Mm-hmm.
so bad? And it was one of those moments of, I knew right there was a disconnect, but it wasn't something that really, you know, hit me big time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, later when I dug into all of the personal growth and realized that, I had a chance to start to actually consciously create the life that I wanted and the life that I was really meant to be living all along. So that's the journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then how did you get involved with the emotion code? Like
Well,
how did
yeah,
that manifest in your life?
yeah. So emotion code actually happened to me about maybe more like 8 months ago. And actually, it was one of those inspired action moments of, I was in my yoga studio that I go to, and they have books, of course, throughout the yoga studio. It's not just a yoga studio. It's Golden Bridge here in New York. So it's a Kundalini
Mm.
studio. So they have tons of books there, and I happened to across the Emotion Code book, and I just grabbed it. I was absolutely fascinated by it, and I read it cover to cover that night and realized, wow, this is something really powerful. Simple, but powerful. And I started playing with it, just, with myself and with friends and family, and realized that it actually works,
Mm-hmm.
And I had been looking for something to support my clients through dealing with blockages. My coaching practice, I work both one-on-one and also do group coaching. And, I definitely focus them on keeping focused on where they're headed, not focused on the past. But at some point, you have to uproot the past
Mm-hmm.
blocking you. And all too often, we have no idea what those blockages are because they're so deeply buried. in the subconscious or the unconscious that we don't realize that they're even there, and that they're even in existence. And oftentimes they're not blockages that we've created. We've inherited them, through our DNA, or they're things that we absorbed energetically when we were in the womb. So to be able to get to them and uproot them where they can't grow back, it's really necessary to go there. And I wanted something that wasn't, not that there's anything wrong with therapy, because I think it has a place, but I wanted something that wasn't a therapy that was going to push people in sticking in their past. I wanted something really going to be able to help them release what they need to release so that they can continue to move in the direction that they're meant to move and do so more quickly. So
Yeah. Yeah, and so it seems like this has really unfolded for you, and it's great when we find something that really works and that we can help other people. Uh, the whole block thing is just like huge. I mean, we all have blocks, and regardless, whatever level we're at, everyone still has some sort of something.
yeah,
So
well,
it's
these trapped emotions, you can have hundreds of them. It most likely you do. A trapped emotion is really, it's energy. It's something that was an intensity of an emotion that happened at some point in time and it got stuck in your energy system. And so we have hundreds of them throughout our lifetime. And, it's being able to release different ones when they're actually blocking. Not all of them are blocking you. Not all trapped emotions are blocking. And some trapped emotions may be positive emotions.
mm-hmm.
We're working on the ones that are hindering or blocking a particular area.
Right. So why don't you explain or describe what the emotion code is so we have like a framework?
Yeah, so motion code is actually, it's a energetic practice that was developed and created by Dr. Bradley Nelson. He's a chiropractor, and he's been using it for years in his practice and developed it over time. It's actually a subset of a bigger program called the body code.
Mm-hmm.
But the emotion code specifically works with the trapped energetic emotions. And so what you do is you use a form of kinesiology muscle testing to identify A, if you have a trapped emotion, and B, what the trapped emotion is, and if necessary, more information about it in order to then release it. So it's really up to the body and up to your subconscious just how much information you need before you can release. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes it's just a matter of you just need to name it and release it. Sometimes you need to name it and you need the body's wanting you to know this is when it happened. Sometimes the body wants even more information. And sometimes it's a matter of them being able to identify, is this inherited or not, in order to release. So we really use the body as the guide, the subconscious is the guide, and using the muscle testing allows us to communicate with the subconscious to be able to get those answers. Mm-hmm. And then the release happens very easily. It's really as simple as running that magnet down the governing meridian and really focusing on releasing that trapped emotion. And letting it go, releasing. And it happens very quickly. Mm-hmm. And then the shifts, depending on what you're working on, whether it's an emotional block or if it's a physical block, because left untreated, some of these trapped emotions can actually long-term lead to disease because it creates that environment in the body. So releasing a trapped emotion that's creating a physical ailment can either completely absolve the pain, or it at least releases the emotional component of it that it enables the body to support in the healing process. Mm-hmm. So, it just depends on what you're working with.
Yeah, so other than pain in the body, which would be a physical manifestation, what are other ways that people would recognize that they have these trapped emotions?
Yeah. So you have trapped emotions if you're blocked. There's going to be trapped emotions. So,
or if you're alive, right?
Yeah, that's true. If you're alive, you've got some. So it's a matter of, let's take a look at what area of your life you're blocked in. What is it that your goals are? What is it that you're wanting to manifest in your life or create in your life? So, is it in career? Is it in finances? Is it in health? Is it in love? Like generally, we start with a particular area when I'm working with one of my clients, and we'll determine what their goals are, and then we'll ask the body, do I have any trapped emotions that are blocking me in this area?
Mm-hmm.
And what I have found by doing this and doing so many sessions is that the body responds very literally to the questions that you're asking. So it's important what question you're asking. And I often find too that it's really important to kind of work your entire way around a block. So for example, in the love area,
Mm-hmm.
it could be, do I have any trapped emotions that are blocking me from attracting love? Do I have trapped emotions that are blocking me from receiving love? Do I have trapped emotions that are blocking me from getting into a relationship or from getting into a marriage, a commitment? And so really kind of working your way around it over a few sessions to make sure that you're fully unblocking, because you'll release the trapped emotions that are specific to the questions that you're asking.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of love, I remember you talking about a heart wall. So I think that would be great to talk about what a heart wall is, um, and how that shows up in someone's life.
Yeah, so a heart wall is a unique situation. About 20% of the people will have a heart wall. And a heart wall is basically where the body has pulled the excess untapped energy in the body to, and literally creates an energetic wall around the heart, really to protect it from further heartbreak, to protect it. And so sometimes we'll identify a heart wall if somebody is not testable, if they're not showing as readable right away. Sometimes that means that there's a heart wall. Or we can ask directly right away, even if you're testable, do you have a heart wall? Or even do you have a hidden heart wall? It can be a little tricky sometimes. There's a wall and it doesn't want to be shown. But the heart wall is really important to release, because that heart wall is, it's just it's this wall around your heart, and it's blocking you in way more areas than just love. It can block in all different parts of your life. So it's accumulation of all those untapped or trapped energies and trapped emotions in your body. So you've got layers and layers. So identifying if there is a heart wall, how many layers are there to it? Sometimes it's about finding out what is the heart wall made of. You know, it could be made of wood, or it could be made of steel, it could be made of diamonds, it could be made of jelly. There's no rhyme or reason to it necessarily. It's just sometimes it needs to be named, and needs you to know that this is what it's made out of in order to release it. But again, then once you identify it, releasing it is just a matter of going through all the different emotions that are creating that heart wall and releasing them one by one.
Mm. So it sounds like trapped emotions on steroids, or like really like
Yeah, piling up one after the other.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm curious then to switch over to your high performance coaching, and I would love to hear more about that, because there's something about it that just like is like, ooh, that sounds really interesting. So what does it mean, high performance, when we're talking about high performance? Because I'm thinking it's not necessarily what we imagine it to be.
Yeah, I think, yeah, a lot of times when I first say high performance, people think uh, she's talking about hustling and the back to the life I had before, where you're all about the career and all that. And high performance in this case is really about living a fully engaged life. It's about having full engagement, joy, and confidence that comes from living from and into your full potential. So that's what high performance really is about. And so it's not something that's about hustling.
Mm-hmm.
It's about taking action for sure, but you take that action from a place of course, inspiration, but also energy. So high performance coaching centers around clarity, really getting crystal clear on what you want, which of course is about manifesting as well. You can't manifest without knowing what it is that you want to manifest. Well, that's not true. You can manifest, you can't deliberately create without knowing what it is that you want.
Right.
So having that clarity, and it can be clarity about who you are, clarity about what's important to you, clarity about what you want to create in your life, clarity about really just what matters most to you. All of those can be things that people are very unclear on. So that's the place we always start, is clarity. It's also about energy then. So having the energy to bring the joy to your life. not just passively existing. It's having that energy to be able to call on the energy when you need it, also being able to manage your energy, to bring it down when you need to kind of calm yourself and release from stress. So it's being able to manage energy. It's
Oh
about,
boy, I need that because I have the hardest time slowing down. Like I believe I've been in this cycle of working long hours over many years that I don't know what it's like to put the computer to the side or like completely check out. I mean, I do, but like I can't remember the last time I had a vacation. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people in this same boat. You know, we've gotten so tied to our technology that it's like, oh, I can't be without my cell phone and I can't not check my email. So, what do you have to say about that?
oh
Help
yeah,
me, help me.
you're totally right. You know, one of the things we recommend is taking a mini break every hour to every 90 minutes. You know, and it only needs to take 5 minutes total. That's the thing about it. It doesn't need to be this 30-minute to hour-long meditation, or it doesn't need to be um, taking a vacation necessarily. If you're building in the energy breaks into your day, then you're keeping your system fully engaged. And so it can be using your breath work to build you up and increase your energy, and using some movement to get your body actually going and
Mm-hmm.
stimulated, and then taking just a few minutes with breath work to bring you back down and to calm your central nervous system. So it can happen very, very quickly. And that's one of the things that I work with clients on, is to teach them how to do that themselves. You know, Brendon Burchard, who is actually the founder of Certified High Performance Coaching, he one of the favorite things that he says, one of my favorite things of his that he says, is that the power plant doesn't have energy, it creates it.
Hmm.
And that's really what our bodies are. They're power plants, right? And so we create the energy, and we also manage the energy down. So there's a lot of techniques and tips to be able to help somebody learn how to manage their own energy. So
Yeah. Wow. I mean,
yeah,
that's like a whole nother show in itself.
yeah. There's a lot of fun things to be able to do. And once somebody understands and can really feel their energy, and realize that um, you know, part of it is being able to manage it that way, but there may be things like nutrition that are at play too that's causing you, and you've got all your different brain chemicals that could be causing you to feel depleted, adrenal fatigue. You know, there's so many different ways to look at it and so many different things to address. But once the first thing is to really get somebody to feel their energy and understand what those signals mean to them and what they can do, how they can be empowered to actually take steps to address it.
Mm-hmm.
That they're not at the mercy of their energy. They actually control their energy.
Well, and I love how you bring all this together because, I mean, it's like a perfect partnership. You're getting clarity through the coaching process, and then you have the emotion code to release those blocks that are holding you back. Then you have something that you created, which is the manifesting method that you particularly use, natural abundance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just love how this is very, like a very holistic approach.
Yeah. So for me, natural abundance is, I look to Mother Nature as the greatest example of manifesting for us, because when you look at the way nature manifests naturally all on its own, and the fact that the universe is an abundant universe, if we use that as the guide to actually apply to our own lives, then the manifesting becomes natural and it becomes easy. So the Natural Abundance Program, it's a 5-step program. So the first step is all about preparing your soil. So it's taking a look at the foundation, and it's taking a look at how have you set yourself up for success in manifesting. You know, what are the obvious weeds that are there before you plant anything else? So it might be, how do you surround yourself with the right people, or how do you limit your time with the people who are more toxic? How do you look at your Facebook feed as a positive and use the algorithm to your advantage to take a look and see, what am I focusing on? You
Mm-hmm.
know, my Facebook feed is filled up with toxic, negative stuff. Well, I'm putting my attention and energy to that.
Right.
So how can I shift that by starting to put my attention and energy on the things that I want? I think Facebook is an awesome thing for that. And so how do you really lay the foundation? In my coaching program, I actually teach a lot of foundational principles during that time too, like all the different universal laws, basics of neuroscience, basics of quantum physics. So that's kind of a foundational thing there too. Obviously, it's not a deep dive into all of that, but it's what they need to know
Yeah, we don't
to
have to know everything, right?
everything, but enough to understand
Yeah,
how it all works and
that's right.
how all the pieces of the puzzle come together. And then the next stage is deciding what you want to plant in your garden. So picking what it is that you want to manifest and picking the seeds and planting your seeds. So that's the next stage. The next stage after that would be nourishing and nurturing. So everything from affirmations and affirmations, nourishing the vibration, looking at hydration and water and how our cells are made up of water, and really how do we feed the energy that is going to feed our manifestation. And then the next step is the real interesting one. That's the weeds and pruning weeds and debugging, exterminating. That's when it really, generally, we get to that point where we've gotten rid of the obvious weeds, and that's usually the point in time where people kind of hit a little bit of a brick wall, and that's when you know that there's deeper stuff. I don't go to that first because I don't want to set people up for the mindset of focusing on that. Instead, I want to get them on the mindset of powerfully creating, and then let's see what comes up from there, because it's easier then to pull it out once you've set the
Right.
state.
Right, because we have weeds about everything in our life. And so it's interesting how the more you step into your intention or your goal or your desired life, that how that all starts surfacing.
Yeah.
And in the past, because I wasn't able to really navigate my own energy, I would have let those things, something that looks bad would manifest, and oh, it would just like stop me in my tracks. Like if I felt sick, or like I was finishing a manuscript for a Hay House contest or whatever. And I can remember I got so physically ill as I was finishing it. I was like sweating. I was nauseous. I thought I was going to throw up. It felt like I had the full blown flu, but it was me just coming up against my own stuff.
Yeah.
And boy, oh boy, it's a lot of that stuff is so big and so real that
Yeah.
it's like so often I think it derails us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings up a really important concept, and that is the idea of the fact that you're building your muscles. Just like anything else, when it comes to manifesting, you have to build muscles. So just like you're building a physical muscle, you need to start smaller and work your way up. If you try and go too fast, too big, too fast. I'm sorry, my cat's getting in on the act.
Hi, kitty.
Always has to be in the middle of the energy.
Yeah.
But if you start too big, too fast, it's like if you've never lifted a weight before in your life and you try and lift 200 pounds, what's going to happen? Well, you're not going to be able to lift it, number one. Least case scenario. Worst case scenario, you're going to throw your back out and be completely out of commission. Whereas if you start smaller and work to build the muscles, and you have to build muscles of intention and building muscles of affirmation, and you're forming those new neural connections in your brain that are reinforcing the habits. So as you get stronger, you add a little bit more weight. You go bigger with your dream. And I don't mean that you don't have these big dreams. I definitely think we start with the big dreams, but you have to break it down a little bit, because if it's not believable from the beginning, then people will give up as soon as it doesn't happen. So,
Right. And I think that's such an important point, because, I mean, how many times have I set intentions of like reaching the moon, and then because I was out of resonance, nothing happened. So I
Yeah.
think that resonance and feeling like, yes, this is possible, or yes, this is already happening, is
Yeah.
so important. That's like a secret, I think.
It is, and actually, that's one of the high performance focuses too, is celebrating the entire journey, celebrating each
Mm.
step of the way, celebrating each of those little milestones, because so many people wait to celebrate until they've achieved the final result, and they miss all the beautiful juiciness that comes with celebrating the fact that they just conquered a fear,
Mm.
that they stepped outside of their comfort zone, that they went on a YouTube video for the first time or held their first webinar or whatever it is, went on Match.com, like celebrating just the fact that you did it and that you went in a new direction that's uncomfortable. And it doesn't, there's a difference between a fear and an uncomfortableness, and something that is pulling you completely in the wrong direction. Those are the things that make you completely sick. That,
Mm-hmm.
that you just, in your gut, it's not right, versus a little bit of fear and discomfort. That's okay. You'll get over that by building the muscle up.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's even like little signs that you're on the right path.
Yeah.
That little bit of excited,
Yeah.
scary stuff. It's like, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's like that inner knowing. You feel like, oh yes, this feels intimidating or frightening, but I know that this is the direction I'm supposed to go.
I don't know who said it. I think it might have been Joe Vitale. That's like, a great goal should scare you a little and excite you a lot.
Mm.
So it's that little bit of fear, but it's still exciting enough. And the end result is really what keeps you going. That dream, that vision, which goes back to the clarity stuff. You got to
Mm-hmm.
have the clarity piece in the first place to know what that dream is.
Yeah.
So,
So, okay, so for those of us that are out of practice of celebrating these small successes, can
yeah.
you give us a few really practical things that we can do to celebrate along the way?
Yeah, definitely. I think that celebration is, well, first off, it's training yourself to be conscious and aware when you're actually having those moments. So anytime you're about to beat yourself up for something, instead step back and realize this is an aha moment, of something that I'm now becoming conscious of the fact that it went in the way I didn't want it to go. Or, you know what I mean? Like, celebrate consciousness first and foremost. Because we're so used to just being, in the dead zone.
Yeah. Well, that and clarity too.
Clarity. Yeah,
Clarity. Oh, I now know that I'm supposed to do XYZ. Oh, wow.
totally, totally. And that's the first thing. Celebrate every piece that you can, even if it's just being conscious and aware of the fact that you got something that you didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
That's an immediate celebration. Celebrations are about raising your energy, raising the vibration. So anything that's going to pull your vibration up into the alignment that you want it to attract from, that's where you want to be. So that celebration is really important. Celebration can also be things like, rewarding yourself on a weekly basis. So fresh flowers every week
Mm.
is my celebrations,
Oh,
because it is, again, for me, nature is everything when it comes to my guide. So for me, some sort of nature is a celebration. Or it may be getting a massage or facial or a mani-pedi, something like that, that gives you more of an extrinsic reward.
mm. I'm going to start doing this because I can see how you're reinforcing your path and your journey, and that you're on the right track. And yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
let's start celebrating and go get our manis and petties and
Yeah.
or maybe a shave or whatever
Yeah.
whatever floats your boat.
Anything that's going to help you feel better. It's not about becoming dependent on the extrinsic reward, though, because again, I think the first rewards need to be the awareness
Mm-hmm.
and internal reward that you're giving yourself. Acknowledging is first, because otherwise we're always dependent on the outside to shift the inside. And what you really want to do is start to learn how to shift your energy first,
Mm-hmm.
shift your own vibration first, and then use the external reward as a little reinforcement along the way.
Right. Yeah. I always loved the star chart when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so I think this would be a fabulous time to try out, have you walk us through the emotion code. I mean, we've been like, usually this is a more like, I don't know, smoother interview, but today I'm finding that the energy just wants to kind of go all over the place. So we're going to just play with it because that's how it goes.
We'll move with the energy, exactly.
Yes. So let's play, and if you guys have your magnets, you can follow along. And Beth, will you tell as you walk us through this? Will you also explain how the viewers can follow along and process their own stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So I would actually recommend that you get the emotion code book. Inside the book, you'll see a chart, and I'm going to use this chart today.
All right.
And this chart that has 60 different trapped emotions, potential trapped emotions listed on it. Now, what we're going to do is use muscle testing to communicate with your energy system and determine if you have a trapped emotion. You do. At least one, and what it is, and then release it from there. So just so you guys know, though, this is what I'm going to be using as this chart. You don't have to physically see this chart because your subconscious already knows what's on it. Now, we did it a couple weeks ago, and one of the things I like to do, because I work with a lot of clients virtually, is to teach the person how to self-muscle test and have them do the muscle testing while I'm guiding them through and watching. And the reason I like to do that is, number one, I think it's really important that people understand how muscle testing works because you can use it in so many different parts of your life. I use it all the time going to the grocery store or deciding if a supplement is right for me, or even my essential oils. I'll pick up my essential oil and muscle test, is this oil for me today? If so, how does my body want to take it? Does it want to take it internally or diffused or topically? If so, how much? All of these are things that you can ask your body for guidance because your body knows. Your subconscious knows. So I like to teach people that tool because it's so valuable, but also then because you can really feel your own energy yourself. I tend to teach people what's called the sway test because I think it's easiest for people. It's kind of hard to mess it up.
Yeah.
And the sway test is you just stand up straight, feet width, hip width apart. Don't lock your knees, just kind of settle in. And then you're going to ask questions, and your body's going to respond either pulling forward with a positive or pulling backward with a negative. And so typically we'll start off with a baseline. Give me a yes and wait for the body to pull forward. Give me a no, wait for it to pull backwards. And then, my name is Angela. You should pull forward. My name is,
George.
Christian. You should pull backwards. So depending on what your name is, you're going to pull forward or backwards. And that gives you kind of a baseline to see if the person is actually testable. Again, most people are, but there are a couple times where you're not actually testable, and then that's easily also remedied or dealt with by testing by proxy. So that's really how the sway test works. And something to know is that it can take up to 30 seconds for your body to move and register. It's also really important to stay hydrated during muscle testing because your body is an electrical system and needs that hydration in your cells. If you're not hydrated, you'll get funky testing. I think those are the main points to think about when it comes to the sway test. So I encourage everybody, use it the next time you go to the grocery store. You just kind of stand there and hold that chocolate chip ice cream in your hands, and you just see which way your body moves. Do I need this today? And actually, though, it'll be the question that you ask, is this, do I need this? Well, no, I don't need it. Do I want this? You'll probably get a yes.
Yeah.
But, so yes, that's what we would do there. Now, testing by proxy, what I will do is I'll take a moment to just kind of center myself, tap into your energy, and then I'm going to use a form of muscle testing. It's the two-finger circle method here. So give me a yes. It's positive. Can't break it. I could break it if I go really hard, but the point is to use just enough resistance. Give me a yes. Give me a no. If it's the same, give me a yes. Give me a no. Using the same amount, no. And I'm breaking it if it's a negative. It's not breaking if it's a positive. So my name is Beth. My name is Angela. Okay. I'm connected to me right now.
Mm-hmm.
I connect in, it'll take 2 to 3 times usually for me to then fully connect.
Explain the purpose of the magnet and the meridian line before you get started.
Okay, so governing meridian, we're starting right here around the brow line and then working our way back to the back, around the back of the neck. It actually goes further down, but for the purpose of releasing trapped emotions, that's enough. And you just use a magnet. So I have a big
She has
heavy
the
duty
Mama Jama magnet.
but you only need like a kitchen magnet. And all that's doing is it's pulling the energy. So you pull it and you're focusing on releasing this trapped emotion. Releasing this trapped emotion of whatever it is. You would do that 3 times if it's a typical trapped emotion. You would do it up to 10 times if it's an inherited trapped emotion. So it depends on how deep it goes. Occasionally it takes more than 3 times. You know, it might be a little stickier getting out. So I have found a few times that it takes a little bit more. And then interestingly, I was working with somebody about a week ago and we'd released several emotions and we got to one and she just wasn't wanting to release it. Like we went like 10 times and it still wasn't releasing. And I finally asked the question, does your body want to release this emotion? Well, the answer was yes. So the body was wanting to release it and get rid of it. So then we asked, are you capable of releasing this emotion today? And the answer was no. And so the next question was, can Beth release this emotion by proxy? And we got a yes. So then because she had been doing the testing on herself, so then I just took a few minutes, tapped into her energy and released it myself. So I don't really know what the answer was around that, but there was something about it that she wanted to get rid of, but I don't know if we just tapped out her energy or what.
Yeah. Well, and that's the cool thing is you can process quite a bit rather quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't recommend doing more than 10 to 15 trapped emotions max at a given time, because one of the things to be aware of is that there is going to be a detox period, usually 24 to 48 hours after releasing trapped emotions. That's the time that you can experience some detox symptoms. So it can range from headaches, achiness. I get very tired when I release a lot of trapped emotions. Or it could even be like a healing crisis where you feel an intensity of those emotions that you release, because it's kind of like a pimple. Everything comes to the surface to get released and then moved out, and your body's really integrating the changes and moving through those emotions. So those 24 to 48 hours after, we recommend a lot of self-care, Epsom salt or Himalayan salt baths or foot soaks, lots of water to hydrate and flush and move it through your system, and extra rest. So,
Cool.
But I try and tap out usually around 10 trapped emotions at a time. Otherwise it can be a bit much.
Yeah. All right, everybody, put on your seatbelts.
Here we go.
Here we go.
So is there an area that you have felt blocked in?
I'm finding my resistance or fear or something come up that I'm not able to comfortably hire people. So
Okay.
that was kind of like a long.
So I would ask, and let me know if this question resonates for you. I would ask the question, do I have a trapped emotion that is blocking me from delegating or blocking me from finding the right help? The body's going to respond to the question that we're asking. So what's the real question that you want to know about?
Letting go of control.
So is there a block?
We'll just get right to the point.
Is there a blocked or a trapped emotion that's blocking me from giving up control?
I don't think that you mentioned this, maybe you did, but how that one thing is under the surface tied to lots of different things. So when you
Yeah.
excavate and bring out or release an emotion, that it affects different areas.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true. That one trapped emotion could be blocking you in different ways and in different patterns, and it could be hiding another blocked emotion underneath it. There
All
could be more
right.
trapped emotion here.
No
Well,
hiding for me today.
what I'll ask today is, A, do you have a trapped emotion, and what is the priority trapped emotion? So we can demonstrate and get to that. Do I have permission to work as a proxy for Angela? I do. Awesome. Okay, so do I have any trapped emotions that are blocking me from, and I'm saying me because I'm working as you,
Mm-hmm.
do I have any trapped emotions that are blocking me from giving up control in my business? I do. What is the priority trapped emotion that is blocking me from giving up control? Is this in column A, column B, column B? So I'm working again off this list, and I'm not looking at the list right now. I'm looking off until I get down into the actual box. So it's in column B. Is this in an even number row? Odd number row? So it's an odd number row. So is this in B1, B3, B5? It's B3. Okay. So what's in box 3?
I don't know. Let's see.
Is it confusion? Is it defensiveness? Is it grief? Is it self-abuse? Is it stubbornness?
Uh-oh.
Stubbornness.
I'm stubborn.
Okay. So the next question would be, do we need to know any more information about this blocked emotion or trapped emotion of stubbornness in order to release it? We don't. Now,
good.
sometimes, so we can go ahead and release it, and I'll release it. Sometimes, though, it will say yes. So the next question might be, and I'm not going to ask you how old you are on here, but maybe I'd say, whatever your age is, let's say you're 40, I would ask, did this get trapped before the age of 20? Did it get trapped before the age of 30? And we'd narrow in to a year. And then I'd ask the same question again. Do we need to know any more information, or is this enough? Oftentimes when that happens, it helps you because you can kind of put 2 and 2 together.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, if it got trapped when you were 2 years old, you're not going to know what that's about, right? So the point is you don't need to know unless your body needs you to know. Unless the subconscious is telling you, I need you to know this information about it. And it's a little bit of detective work along the way. But your body's just saying, hey, no, I'm ready to release this.
All right.
So focus on releasing this trapped emotion of stubbornness. Doing 3 swipes down the central meridian, governing meridian. Focusing on breathing out that stubbornness. So have we fully released, or have I fully released this trapped emotion of stubbornness? Yes. Now, if I'd gotten a no, I'd have done more.
Mm-hmm.
But in that case, we were able to release it. So I also find that for me, I've found that it's important to ask the question, have we fully released this trapped emotion of stubbornness? Now, I focus on saying this trapped emotion because you can have the trapped emotion of stubbornness trapped more than once in your life.
Mm-hmm.
This particular instance that is contributing to the block in you being able to delegate or wanting to delegate is gone. Like, it's done now. It's gone.
Awesome.
It's in your system. You may have other trapped emotions that are also creating this block for you, but we've released the blocked emotion of stubbornness, which is the priority. So,
Cool.
how's that?
Good. It's crazy how simple it is. Like how quick and simple and painless and
Yeah.
there it goes.
Yeah, and you'll see the shifts. It obviously, something like this might take a couple of weeks for you to notice the differences. Sometimes people don't notice it right away, so I always try and make sure I follow up to check in people and ask them, what have you noticed? Have you noticed yourself any changes here? I recommend, especially when you're dealing with something like this, is that as quickly as you can after the release, take some sort of action in the direction that you want to go in, because you're helping to lock in that new energy and that you start to create that new neural connection for you. The block is gone, so take action as quickly as you can to cement it into your system, cement a new version into your system.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, for those that are doing this with us, how this translates to them using their magnet and doing this process.
Yeah. So what they would want to do is get this chart for themselves, and which is why I recommend getting the book, because it's in there. You probably download it as well off the internet. I'm sure it's out there. But then asking the questions. So start with muscle testing. Get comfortable with muscle testing. Muscle test on stuff you don't care about, like the food. That you're not trying to let your brain get in the way. Just get comfortable with the actual movement of the body, moving forward or backwards, so that you're getting the answers from your body. Then use the same process. So, is it in column A? Is it in column B? Is it in an even number row? Is it an odd number row? To narrow down in, and you literally are just lasering in to the trapped emotion that it is. And then once you've identified whatever that trapped emotion is for you, then just release it.
Cool. Okay,
Yeah.
so because we worked together before, I know that I have a heart wall. So I would love to see if we can just play with that for a few minutes.
Yeah. So the heart wall, yeah. So, and I forget, did we release parts of your heart wall?
Mm-mm.
We didn't.
No,
Okay.
we were hung up on other stuff, I guess.
Get to the heart wall. And the heart wall is actually pretty important to get to too, because the heart wall can, block you in so many different areas of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So we might want to find out how many layers do you have to your heart wall. So
It was either 7 or 8.
okay, so I'll ask again. I'm still tapped into your energy. I'm just going to baseline to make sure I am. My name is Beth. My name is Angela. Give me a yes. Give me a yes. Give me a no. Okay. So do I have a heart wall? I do. Didn't disappear just without
Nope.
not doing anything.
Darn.
Are there more than 2 layers to my heart wall? Are there more than 5? Are there more than 10? Are there 6? Are there 7? Are there 8? I'm getting 8 this time. I'm
Okay.
thinking that's what we had the last time.
Yeah.
We would then do the same process to identify what's the first layer of the heart wall and literally go wall by wall. So we could also, again, sometimes the heart wall wants you to know what it's made out of. So that becomes a more intense process of kind of playing around with it, asking questions, because for you to figure out if it's wood or jelly, you just have to ask all these different types of questions to see. But we'll ask if we need to know. Do we need to know what the heart wall is made of? No. So we don't need to know what it's made out of. So that's good, because that would be a lot more trickier.
It'd be a 3-hour show.
It could be, yeah, because I'm like guessing. Is this diamonds? Being emeralds for you. Okay, so the first layer of the heart wall, is this in column A, column B, even number row, odd number row? So it's in B odd. So is this B2? No, sorry, B1, B3, B5, B5. Is it conflict? Creative insecurity? Ooh, creative insecurity.
Hmm.
Ooh.
That sounds like a juicy one.
Let's see. Okay, do we need to know anything else about this trapped emotion of creative insecurity in order to release it? No, we don't. That's actually, it's interesting, because I personally have found that either that there's patterns. Like some people, you can just release everything pretty quickly. Other people, they need you to get more information on almost everything. That's just been my experience in using this. But for you, you're like, again, releasing. Yeah, maybe it's because we're on the show today that your body's like, yeah, no, let's just get rid of it. Okay. So I'm going to release this trapped emotion of creative insecurity. Okay. Have we fully released this trapped emotion of creative insecurity? Yes. What I have found is that oftentimes it's not what we think it is. And this is interesting because we make up these stories in our head and we convince ourselves of certain things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I worked with a client a couple of weeks ago with love blocks. And the first question that we asked was, do I have a block that's a trapped emotion that's blocking me from attracting love? And the answer was no. And she's like, oh, come on. Like, something is blocking me from attracting love. I'm like, really? Let me ask a different question. Mm-hmm. Do you have a trapped emotion that's blocking me from receiving love? And bingo.
Yeah.
You know, very different. So she convinced herself that she wasn't attracting. Now, it was great because as a coach, it enabled us to get into the conversation of uncovering, are you really not attracting it? Well, no, she'd been attracting like crazy. She just was completely blocked to it and open to it. Someone yesterday actually on a heart wall, and we released the heart wall, and she texted me back later that day. She's like, you will not believe the matchmaker just called me because she'd been seeing a matchmaker and it was getting nowhere. And she's like, she just called me to let me know that she's got somebody for me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it works very fast.
Wow.
One of the things that I've really gotten a lot of joy out of is working on animals too.
Oh yeah.
And I love it because animals just don't have those same defenses up and they don't let the brain get in the way. But I've had a lot of success working with animals that either have aggression issues or I work with a couple of rescue organizations actually. And these animals have been traumatized. So being able to do some kind of energy work, whether it's Reiki or you can even do EFT on animals, you know, I've been using this and it's really effective and it's just blown me away, which just brings joy to my heart to be able to do that.
Yeah. Oh, well, and I imagine with children as well.
Yeah.
You can work with,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
How
you can
cool.
work with anyone. Absolutely.
How
Yeah.
cool. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This was such a fun, like really wild conversation. We went everywhere.
Magic carpet ride all the way around.
Totally, totally. So, yeah, is there any last words or anything else that you feel called to share?
Well, I just would encourage everyone out there, it's mostly women watching this probably, but there might be a few men out there, a few good men who are awakening to the
Yes.
goddess, to the goddesses within, and just really encouraging them to don't give up on any of your dreams and be willing to step into your power and own that power and create the life that you really want and use the tools that are available to you. You know, I personally, again, whether you believe in God, goddess, creator, source, whatever it is you believe in, I believe in God. I believe that we were given all of these tools for a reason. So, you know, use them and engage in life and live that full engaged life.
Yes. Cheers to that. Cheers. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. I hope you enjoyed today's guest and got something you can start using in your life right away. For more spiritual insights and to listen to more episodes, subscribe to The Awakened Goddess Show at theawakenedgoddess.com and discover wisdom that'll change your life.